Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Good morning, Bill.
Well, good afternoon, James. This is one of our rare afternoon podcasts. Terrific week coming up. Just came from graduation. Got the last one out of high school.
Yes, welcome back. We missed you last podcast. Our first one without you. It was a tearful moment.
I'm anxious to listen to that one myself to see what that sounds like when we get going.
We'll see how it goes.
Hey, listen, I'm excited. I've got a friend I've known for over a decade now. He's a local business. He's not in the trades, though, so I just need to let you know. But boy, does he provide a service. And he is the owner of Baker Family Chiropractic here in Belle Isle. It's Dr. Joe Baker. Let's welcome him in.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you so much. Thank you
so good to have you here. Our fans
Joe
love you
Baker
already.
The fans love you. You're really popular. That was like
That's right out the gate.
Really hard applause there.
Extended applause.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
No standing ovation yet, please.
Not yet. Okay.
So I was going to tell you, James, I actually met Dr. Joe probably about 10 years ago. And I don't know, was your wife with you at that time?
Yeah.
You guys used to come into the school, and I had several kids that were playing sports. And before the school year started, you guys would do physicals, sports physicals for them. And that's where we first met you. Then I remember that my oldest son, he's got like the extra vertebrae or something. I remember you said one time, he always had a quirky back. Yep. So we started coming to see you, and we saw you my wife has been in to visit with you. Lord knows I've been on your table any number of times. So that's where we first got to knowing you. So why don't you take a minute and just kind of tell us where you're from and how it all got going and how you kind of wound up with the business that you have now.
So I'm Dr. Joe Baker. I was born in Key West, Florida, and grew up down there half my life. Then the other half came up to Orlando in, 89, 90. So went to Boone High School, and kind of the rest was history.
Okay, and that's a local school.
Oh, yeah. So started getting adjusted at 8 days old. And so I think that's what kind of started my chiropractic journey, if you will.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so I was a preemie. I was a little runt, so I was born a little too early in the world. Mom started getting me adjusted, so that I noticed right out the gate what a benefit when I was a young guy of how much better my quality of life was. So yeah, I met you guys. Gosh, it was probably second year. I was a partner in a practice downtown for about 10 years. And yeah, we started to do the physicals for Cornerstone and subsequently Boone after the girls left and went there. But yeah, that's how I met you guys through the family.
So after Boone, you decided to go to chiropractic school, or did you just go straight to college with the chiropractic in mind?
No, actually, I was playing a little bit, having some fun. I was wakeboarding and thinking about trying to go pro, which certainly was a little premature there, and maybe my efforts were as good as my talent, but so I actually went to massage therapy school, and I started out doing massage because I always loved taking care of people. I always knew I wanted to work with my hands and have that hands-on basis to help people, and I knew I didn't want to go to the western side of the pharmaceutical world, so I wanted to stay more in that naturopathic. So after massage school, I did about 4 years and practiced that, and then went to chiropractic school I started in Atlanta at a place called Life. And then it was ironic because the gentleman that owned the school had nothing to do with him, but the school went on accreditation probation because he was trying to do things his way. So invariably, everybody got a little nervous, took off, everybody that could anyways. Some people stayed. It ended up being fine. But I went out to Logan out in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, being a Florida boy, the Midwest was not the...
sure that was a change of pace.
It was quite the change. It grew on me, though. It grew on me. I definitely liked the change of season. It was nice, having that difference of not hot and hotter like we have here in Florida.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how long is the course of study for chiropractic?
So let me backtrack. I went to school in Gainesville. So I went to school up in Gainesville, went to UF. So I got my undergraduate degree in human biology.
Okay.
And then from there I went to chiropractic school, like I said, up in Atlanta, and then from there it's out to in St. Louis. But so it's 8 together, 4 and 4. So 4 for your bachelor's and 4 for chiropractic school.
That's a lot of school.
It's a lot of school, but it's just like anything. It was had a passion for it, and time's going to go by. So I knew I could buckle down and get my education and do something I loved and make good living and just have a good quality life, or I could just do nothing. So.
Right. So you finish school, and then there's a state accreditation or state test of some kind?
Yeah, there's a national board. So there's called the Florida 4. Each state has its own accrediting board that you take. But Florida's kind of the hardest of all 50 for a couple of reasons. One, we have a lot of geriatric population here. And two, everybody wants to come to Florida. So it's a saturated aspect. So if you're trying to do general insurance or certain aspects, once you start practicing of how you're going to kind of be reimbursed or paid. So that's a whole different animal in itself. But yeah, it was
So when you graduated, you actually, because we call you Dr. Joe, and I asked you before the podcast started, you actually are a doctor.
Yeah.
So this is why you could do the physicals and stuff at school.
Sure. So really the only dividing point between what would be, think of a traditional doctor would be a pharmaceutical aspect. You go there, you take this drug, you do this, or surgery, which is specialization aspect.
Sure.
So DOs, which is a doctor of osteopath, would be more of like our cousin. They would be adjusting, but they have more of the power of the pad, and they do surgery and other things that they kind of specialize in that respect. Chiropractic is more on the natural side. They don't want to go down the pharmaceutical road, so that's why they keep it on the more of the conservative, naturopathic side in that respect.
Right.
So
and they try to avoid invasive surgery too, as
of course.
Obviously.
So you're really the power that made the body heals the body. So you want to take the interference out of the body by adjusting the spine and letting the nervous system thrive. So whenever you do that, the body naturally heals itself. So along with, of course, stretching and diet and, all the other things that they really don't promote in that Western world, but certainly beneficial to us humans as we go down that road of life.
Yeah. So my grandfather was a trainer for the Cardinals years ago.
Oh, wow. I went to school in St. Louis.
Right. And so my whole life we've been, as kids, he would give us adjustments. And then I went to a chiropractor as an adult, and it was different. It was it's always been holistic, but it was almost like
it's changed.
It's changed a little bit. Like, of course, they all want you to have a subscription plan, and you show up and do the whole stuff.
It depends. I think chiropractic is a unique aspect because when you are trained through school, you learn certain techniques like you do in a lot of other disciplines. But how you apply that is really an art.
Right.
So you kind of groom that art to not what works best for you, but how you kind of express that art, if you will, through that patient. So you kind of coalesce this, technique, if you will, and that's what you're trying to, help the patients with.
Well, I went to a place right across the street from here because I was having some lower back pain before I went to you, and it just wasn't
the same.
Yeah. It was, a lot of machine work, a lot of using tools. He adjusted me, but it was different, right? And so I know there's some stigmatas. Some don't like it, some do like it.
Sure.
But I was born in the whole, I think your wife told me once, it was like the bone crusher days,
Right,
And so when I went to see you're not afraid to manhandle. I'm not a small guy.
Sure.
And so what are the differences that you're seeing in the world of chiropractics?
Well, and just like you said, there's a lot of patients or students coming out of chiropractic school, and as technology advances, they're using more of the instrumentation, it's called. So your activator, your pro adjuster, your different modalities that are trying to help patients. But all in all, I call it lazy chiropractic, and I say that with the respect of my other colleagues. But sometimes when a patient comes in, you just have to get in there, get hands on, and take that fixation out of there, get that patient moving. Because if you're just trying to move somebody of your stature with something like the activator or something that's not going to really have enough force to get things done, you're really not going to achieve that same result. So you're going to feel jaded. You're going to feel like, hey, this didn't work. And the other aspect is sometimes patients will come in with an unrealistic expectation. You can't come in at 80 and think we're going to, make you 18 again. As we go down that road of life, you have to really have a realistic conversation with the patient and say, this is what you can expect out of what we have going on. Because, of course, each patient comes in with a different need, so to speak. Excuse me, pain and pleasure drive us, right? And I always say nobody's ever said you're getting on my nerves and meant in a good way. So, hey, that nerve is.
I like that. I like that. I'll steal that one from you.
So that's really the essence of a good chiropractor, if you will, trying to take somebody that walks through your door that's in obvious pain and trying to improve that quality of life through what you do, and whether it be through a technique or this or that. So we have 2 great massage therapists in our office that.
Well, you've got one for sure, I know.
So using different modalities, you're only as good as the tools in your toolbox, right? So you really want to make sure the tools that you have are going to be there again, benefiting that patient as they grow, not only from what's called acute pain. Hey, doc, I'm coming in, I'm dying, fix me, to that next step of wellness to what we call maintenance. You really want to take them through that proper chain of care.
Right.
So they get that. So they get the long-term effects and the quality of life there again that you want to provide for them. Now, some chiropractors, unfortunately, they do the rack and crack, and they just, as fast as you can get them in, they get you out. And I always say, if it took longer to drive there than it did for your care, you kind of need to find a new chiropractor. But it's and the other aspect is really, just caring, because like anything, volume drives a practice, right? You see more people, you make more money. But if you're doing that with a cattle prodding kind of expectations, not only do patients feel it, but you're not really going to be helping any patients in that respect, or yourself,
right.
because you're really going to be doing chiropractic an injustice and yourself at the same time.
Right.
So I'm curious, inside the field of chiropractic, there are some specialties, right? Because I'm aware, you told me on one visit I was there that your wife, who's a good bit smaller than you,
Sure,
deals with infants.
Absolutely.
And children. And are there other specialties inside chiropractic?
Sure. So as far as the technique, that would be one thing that you specialize in. And by that, I mean, there's a technique called Gonstead, where there's a particular kind of adjustment, or diversified, or there again, I keep saying activator, which is a small tool that puts a very specific line of drive into where you want it to. It's very non-invasive in that respect. So yeah, she does our pediatric adjusting. She does my wife, she's been through a journey of herself. She's had 2 total hip replacements, and she's had a fusion in her back, and then a year later they took that fusion out. So her quality of life is finally really coming back up, but she's been through so much, and kept a smile on her face the whole time. So with that, we kind of agreed to pediatrics to petite women, or just smaller stature people. I shouldn't say just petite women, but somebody that she can handle in that respect and still give them the good quality of care that she is, going to deliver, but at the same time not compromise herself, because what we do is very physical on ourselves. And of course, at the end of the day, it's, you're hurting as well, because we're only human as the day goes.
And I think there's no need to go to the gym after work, right?
Yeah,
I've seen you. I've been for 20 minutes. It's like, I feel like I've been in 3 rounds with you. Ping, ping, waiting on the bell.
I'll tell you what, it's like sweating in a snowstorm, it never gets cold in my office.
So, all right. So quickly, how long have you actually been Baker Family Chiropractic?
We have been Baker Family for 7 years now.
Okay.
So,
and your wife's been part of that since the beginning?
Yes, since the beginning. So my wife and I met actually. It's ironic. I never wanted to marry chiropractor, so to speak. I always wanted to have something different to talk about at the end of the day. But honestly, it's been such a blessing, because she's such a beautiful but absolutely intelligent and smart doctor that at the end of the day, I can balance things off. She understands. She can help me. Hey, don't think about it like this. Think of it like this. So it's helped me really grow, not only as a physician myself, but to help us grow the practice. Yeah. So, because like I said, we started off kind of story behind us. We met and we were taking the Florida for the Florida National Board. So we had met and kind of flirted a little bit, but we were both so focused on what we were doing. We kind of didn't pay each other too much mind, other than a couple looks here and there. Then after we both graduated and we got our degree under there, and we got licensed in Florida, you have to go and you have to do a couple different things after the fact. You have to go and watch how other disciplines had maybe compromised themselves through insurance, like Medicare fraud or other things that got themselves in trouble and maybe in front of not a judge, but the peers that slap them and say, don't do that again kind of deal. So we went to that together and we did some other things and the rest was history. Kind of fell in love and got married.
She was working with you as well, right? At the other practice you guys were at before Baker family.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So she was actually practicing.
Because I remember seeing her
Oviedo.
there.
So we were dating. She was practicing, loved it, but the person she was practicing with, it was just he was more of a rack and crack by the numbers. It's more. It wasn't so much as the care. It was how many could she see that day,
Right?
And so she really got tired of that quick. So as a partner there, my other constituents, I kind of left it in their hands as to not be biased. But of course, seeing the quality of work and just a great human being she was, that it was a no-brainer. They said, yeah, we'd love to have her on them. So she joined the practice, and I think it was our first year in. So we practiced together from the get-go, and then about 10 years, I was a partner there at the practice downtown, and then about 10 years after that, we branched off and started our own place.
So
Been blessed ever
I'd like
since.
to kind of dig into that a little bit, some of what you went through as you're beginning to open your own business. What did that journey look like for you?
Well, I was blessed in a lot of ways because the practice that I was in, it was quite the juggernaut. We saw, quite of a high volume there, but we had 4 or 5 doctors. So we were able to handle that with good quality care and not try to compromise, the effectiveness there. So in doing that, I've got exposed to a lot of different, not only physicians that we worked with, from neurosurgeons, because, we refer to other disciplines, daily. So it's, of course, you got to come to a realization of how much can you help this patient. And if you can't, then you want to get them over to, it's not that we want anybody to have surgery or this and that, but when the necessity is there, of course, even with my wife, with her journey, we get them to where they're going to be helped best in their quality of life. So with that, I was exposed to different neurosurgeons there, different contacts, and the different patient population that we had met there. So from there, when we kind of transitioned on our own, it was Valentine's Day 2017, and we had maybe an indifference with the other partners in the practice.
Okay, it happens.
Sure, as life goes, you never want that, but the reality is it does happen. So we had ventured out on my own, and quite honestly, I don't think I would have had the same success if I didn't have her by my side, or I didn't have her as a chiropractor. If she would have been a different discipline, because we never would have had that same ability to take on what is, starting a new practice in essence.
So when you do that, though, there's no additional licensing. You already have that, right?
Sure. No, basically you're just transitioning from, one place of practice to another. So we formulated Baker Family Chiropractic at that point, where I was under a different umbrella, so to speak. And so in the venture of moving, besides the physical application of, which is, of course, just, daunting in itself, there's so many things behind the scenes that you don't even think of, from, of course, today's day and age, from Google to social media to it recognizing you over at a different place, to trying to get that organic traffic over to a new place. So
and common problems to all business, no matter what industry you're in.
Absolutely. So that's even across the board. So that's just one that anybody that's going to go into business is going to, face. It's just something a road they're going to have to cross.
Well, let's unpack that a second. So you decide you're going to go on your own. You now have to become Baker Family Chiropractics.
Sure.
Okay, so you got to get your LLC or your INC, whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, you formulate, S
your
corp
business,
or whatever
right?
you're going to do.
Got to find a location. So it's going to cost you some money for that too.
Sure.
Shell out some rent. And unlike us, because you can be a drywall guy and work out of your house if you wanted to, you actually have a storefront. So you
brick and mortar.
have to have a brick and mortar type place. And so then you launch. And I take it, obviously, Bill was with your last place, and then somehow he found out you're going on your own.
Right.
Sort of some sort of knock.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I found that out, but it was just common knowledge. No, they're doing their own thing now.
But you have to do something now to get your phone ringing and people come to the doors.
So, and maybe even to toot our own horn a little bit, I had about 1,100 to 1,200 patients follow us out, because I was seeing about 40 to 50 patients there at our other place a day.
Oh, my goodness.
So with that, and for 10 years of service,
40, 50 patients
a day. Yeah.
I had no idea you saw that many patients.
Sure.
That is amazing.
So invariably, and really you have to kind of reach a cap, if you will, because there again, now anything over a certain amount, you're going to sacrifice quality for time, because there's only so many hours in a day, right? So you have certain patients that maybe are maintenance patients, just coming in, keeping it, getting a tune up, keeping what you guys had worked for to get them to that particular place.
Right.
Now you have somebody that maybe comes to the door as a new patient that you're going to spend more time from the exam to working that patient up to understanding their needs and going through a history and orthopedic tests and all the other things you need to do to understand what that patient needs.
So, but pretty quick, you can figure out, I can do this many patients, my wife can do this many patients, so you already know sort of what your cap is.
Yeah.
And how long did it kind of take you to ramp up to being able to fill that schedule?
Honestly, it'd take you about 3 years to find the bathroom, right? Even though you know what you're doing. Even though we had everything in play as far as we were blessed to have, like I said, quite 1,000 plus patients follow us out, which if you're seeing 30, 40 people a day, that takes quite the patient base to be able to facilitate those kind of numbers every day.
Right.
Because if you saw, just 10, 20, 30 people that day, you're not going to see them usually again for either a month or a week or
maybe
depending
6 months or a
then there
year
you go.
even. Yeah.
So it takes quite a bit to build up to that. So like I said, we are blessed to have that patient base almost right immediately. Now, getting patients to recognize where you were as you were leaving that place.
I can imagine that was a challenge.
Sure. And that comes in with the transition of through the Google and the social medias and other things. So not only finding a place, which in our sleepy little town and area, you don't want to go too far because you don't want a patient to have to drive more than 10, 15 minutes in any direction, 20 half-hour tops to get there. Because other than that, it's going to be just more problematic in that respect. You want to keep it, so you don't want to go too far. So trying to find a space in something that's going to fit your needs it's not easy in the Conway Belle Isle area. So the brick and mortar aspect was limited. So we were blessed. We found a great place. We outgrew that place very quickly. But then we did have an opportunity to move where we were at now, which is going to suffice our needs for, I think, quite a while to come.
Ready to start your own business? How would you like a jumpstart? Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair is now offering franchise opportunities for strong entrepreneurs. When you franchise with Hole-in-the-Wall, we help you get up, running, and ready to start generating revenue fast. You get access to our comprehensive training program, continued support, and our proven business model that has allowed us to experience explosive growth. Achieve financial success while providing a valuable service to your community. Take the first steps towards achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.
So I'm curious as you kind of were doing your own thing now, was there something that you ran into that you thought, I didn't expect this, or this really worked out better than I thought? Or was there something that stands out in your mind?
Everything.
Oh, is that right?
Well, of course, when everything's going great, it's great, and when it's not, right? So
it's all on you now.
And it's all on you. It's if it's to be, it's up to me. That's what my dad used to tell me in college, right? So nobody else is going to do it. It's yours to have. You know what I mean? So if you're going to do it, it's up to you to get done. So, and somebody always told me you're never going to work for anybody as hard as you work for yourself.
Boy, that's a true statement,
isn't it? So trying to find out what you did wrong, what you did right, and what you can do better is always a growth, right?
Sure.
You always want to see and trying to stay humble. You never want to say this is as good as it's going to get. So like you said, you always want to find what am I doing right and how can I prosper better not only as a physician but as a business owner, which is tough because when you're at your small business, like you said, it's you. Sink or swim. So you're going to make it happen. So in doing that, and then with the different, like I had touched on a little bit earlier, some people say only they see personal injury, if you will, the Morgans and the Newlands of the world, and they try to just see car accidents, which we didn't want to be all our eggs in one basket. We were very diversified because we had Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, United. We were already on those panels, which was a beautiful thing. So we were allowed to continue that relationship, which in turn helped us grow with that. Of course, you have insurance, you want to use it, right?
Sure.
So that helps that. You have always a cash base. And a lot of chiropractors, like you touched on earlier too, there again, or you did, try to sell you a package. And we never wanted to be that not that packages are terrible, but you never know how much a patient's care is going to need. So I never wanted to say, Mrs. Smith, I'll see you this amount of time for this amount of dollar for this amount of time, 6, 8 months, 10 months to a year. So we always did on a patient's needs, if you will. So we try to be individual in that care basis in that respect. So but touching back on others, I think there again, you just kind of every day, you just kind of see, what'd you do right yesterday? What'd you do wrong? And you try to just keep them moving forward. So,
And it's a competitive business.
it sure is. I mean, sure. There's no shortage of chiropractors in the area. You can Google them and they're all right there.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got a business, you and your wife are in this business, and I know that your daughter sometimes comes in and she works in the front office, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is some of the joys and challenges of being in business with family members?
Well, a lot. There's always the joy of being with your family, but then there's always there's no separation from the church and state, if you will. So you of course, you love your family, but sometimes everybody needs a little bit of a break. So it's been challenging, but more overall been a blessing in anything. So for those whole years, my wife and I have practiced together. We, of course, we're husband and wife together. We friends together, and we practice together. So our lives have been.
That.
And so we've been, best friends and partners since the get-go, so to speak. So, and of course, incorporating our family into it's been a blessing and a challenge. Of course, you want your family to excel, so you try to guide them down that road, all the while they're trying to find their way and get their education and see what they want to do in life. So we have a good platform for our daughter Ashley to be able to come in and work the front desk and help us grow and see how mom and dad did it. See how we took the horse by the reins and made it happen. And we're successful and continue to grow.
So Bill and I both have children that work in our business.
Sure.
Have you had any challenges having your daughter there and having to guide her, not just as a daughter, but as an employee?
Sure. So it's, like anything, you want to make sure that you're being a leader and not a tyrant, if you will. So, and when it comes to family, of course, it's a little different because your daughter's going to listen to you as a daughter and not an employee sometimes, right? So you want to make sure that you're trying to be not a disciplinarian, but there again, I say leader, and try to not be overbearing to scold them or to try to treat them as a family member, but then just as an employee that you're trying to, help go down that road of life.
Yeah.
So it does. It becomes challenging, very much so. Some days I want to pull my hair out and fire, and some days, I can't praise her enough.
Yeah, and we've been
there.
James mentioned that we have family members as well, and we have been really fortunate because they are some of our top performers, and you know what? We held them to a high standard.
Sure.
Yeah, but listen,
they show
cheat.
up early and stay late.
we cheat because if I need Bill to talk to my son,
that's true,
and vice versa. So it's like
sometimes good cop, bad cop.
Hearing dad is not the same as hearing Uncle Bill or Uncle James.
That is
true.
So incredibly true.
But both of them, they come early, they stay late. They're heart and soul. If you cut them, they bleed burnt orange.
That's it.
And that's just what it is.
Well, and that's, trying to instill that into our daughter for sure. And she does. She, you usually want to come in, you want to be, make mom and dad proud. You want to shine, right? You want to do your best and leave everything at the office. So, and we always want to encourage that. And of course, as anybody, when they mess up, we try to use that as a teaching lesson. We don't have that benefit of the good cop, bad cop, so to speak. It's just,
you're just too
bad
cop.
Just too bad. But after a while, they get it, right? They get it. They'll pick it up.
So, all right. So let's talk real fast about insurances. Obviously, you take insurances.
Yeah.
Some insurances do X number of visits per, but you also offer another service. I just referred one of my employees over to you.
Oh, thank you.
He'll be coming over, and he does not have insurance, but you have this other program that allows you buy into like an annual subscription, and then
it's called Chiro USA. It's a great benefit for families and for somebody that's going to have a family of husband and wife, and they can benefit from it because it's basically you buy in at I think it's $50, and then you come in and you instead of paying $125, which is our initial cash rate, you pay $80, and then each adjustment is $45 instead of the $65 because you can't just willy-nilly when it comes to rates. You have a fee schedule that you must adhere by.
Sure.
So you cannot change that. It's highly illegal. So you must adhere to that, and you can't change it on a whim. You can't be preferential to this or that. We're also, and we're proud of this, is being on the VA contracts. So we take a lot of, to take good care of our servicemen and women that we, I am, very proud to do, but, they definitely hold a pretty high value in our heart because that's a big deal to us. Certainly, giving it all for America.
Well, I know it's a great
do.
service. I know that when I came in, I had a lower back thing, and I was struggling at the time. I didn't have the same insurance I have now, and I didn't do chiropractics, and so it really helped me
to be able to continue with care.
Just to continue, keep going.
Yeah.
So, and I know it's going to help my employees too.
So we try to make it affordable. We really do. There's like you had said, there's many chiropractors in there, and there's enough to go around. When you do the right thing, money will always follow. If you chase the money, you're always going to be a slave to the dollar bill, right?
Yeah.
So if you do the right thing, you're always going to be blessed, in my opinion, to be provided for. And as a Christian, that's a different aspect. I'm not going to go down the religious aspect, but it's still a very important part in our practice and into our everyday morals and characteristics of how we run our practice. We also have a couple different things, like Bill had said earlier. We offer what's called non-surgical spinal decompression, which is, everybody's heard of sciatic or radiating pain. Hey, my legs numb, my arms are numb.
Yeah.
So we do a thing called non-surgical spinal decompression, which basically decompresses the disc and allows for, if I can explain a disc as a jelly donut with a belt around it as a simple anatomy, when you tear that outer belt, the jelly comes out and it hits the nerve, and that's what radiates down your leg. And that's the typical sciatic that people will come in with, or what's called piriformis syndrome. So when you decompress that on a machine that we have, it puts that jelly back into where it's supposed to be and taking that pressure off that nerve, which in turn ultimately heals that disc. And that's why you get the long-standing relief and not just a short-term relief. Then we have what's called a cold laser. Then we have interferential current. We have 2 great massage therapists.
I know you got one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He loves the one for sure. He's going to vouch for that one all day. But so we do. We have a lot of different modalities that we can use to help patients, and still adding more. So
yeah. So real quick, you may or may not want to talk about it, but I know that the CBD revolution has kind of come through.
Yeah.
Are you utilizing any of those things?
Absolutely. We use a product called ProMed, and it's the CBD. Finally, the hypocrisy has gone away. So, love it or hate it, there's a huge value in what hemp brings, whether it on a material basis. If you've ever purchased anything, a hammock, a shirt, or anything from a hippie festival, no, that was made out of hemp, you still have it to this day, guaranteed. Why? Because the stuff lasts forever. It's very durable. And now on the medicinal or the metabolic side, now they can extract the CBD, and pure CBD is great for anti-inflammatory, for muscle analgesics, which is pain relief, which, for just getting everyday aches and pains under control and in a long-standing way. I had a gentleman that was an epileptic his whole adult life, and I got him on some CBD. Now it comes in liquids, it comes in cream, which is what's called transdermal, that you put on different regions. So it comes in a couple variations of application. But this gentleman was taking the liquid part, or the tincture, they call it, and his epilepsy went from having 1 to 3 a week to having 1 a month.
Oh my!
And
really?
then so that to me was such a stark, obvious. Besides Mr. and Mrs. Smith saying, "Yeah, I feel a lot better," and then and turning the corner. But when you have a patient like that has such a unique neurological condition, that, not saying certainly all of them are healed that way, and certainly not trying to say, all neurological conditions can be managed that way. But there's a lot to be said for the natural way that enters your body and helps to heal it. And with no side effects, with no addiction rate, with nothing on a negative application.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what's next for Baker Family Chiropractic? What's the future hold for?
A lot of chiropractors will try to expand out multiple offices, or, try to ramp up in different ways. But honestly, we just want to continue down the road we're going. We just want to give great service. And of course, I would love to buy a brick and mortar building, but as I touched on earlier, there's just not so plentiful in our area. And
they're quite expensive.
And they're quite
at the
expensive.
Yeah.
So, now with commercial real estate being a unique, looking for San Francisco, for example, right? Before you'd have to give your firstborn child to even get in the arena to pay top money there.
Oh, yeah.
Now they can't even pay, the owners of the buildings can't even pay their bank loans as a result of everybody pulling out there because nobody wants to be there.
Yeah.
So not that I want that for our area, but as commercial real estate maybe tops off or goes down, I think it'll be more of an interest to actually purchase a place, so I could have more of a place that we can call home forever, and of course have some equity in and call home.
Yeah. Well, listen, I am so glad you came today. I love the whole chiropractic side of it, and just that we deal with a lot of home services people, a lot of service industry, people who deal in the trades. And so it's nice to have somebody come in and be able to kind of shed some light on this. Just, you have the same struggles that we all do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think any man, woman, or child trying to start off their own business, they're gonna run into a lot of the same difficulties. And I think, like anything, it's a passion, it's an everyday challenge, but it's something that you have to really want. It's something, you're gonna have your good days and your bad days, but you're gonna have to want it and have to just keep your nose to the grind. But at the same time, look to other people like yourself that are great mentors and other people that are going open up their own small businesses, or look to maybe leads groups in the they usually get together in the morning, or somebody that's been there that can kind of take you under their wing and give you a little bit of direction and some help and guidance in that respect. Because community is just that. We want to help each other thrive. So
So if somebody was looking to reach out to you or get more information.
Sure, you can find us. We're run at in Belle Isle, 5154 Conway Road, Baker Family Chiropractic, and our number is 407-413-5220. And we'd be happy to have you and happy to take care of any needs you may have in the healthcare world. Not only just the back cracking, if you will, but as we like to call it, a chiropractic adjustment.
That's
but
right.
At the same time, which people have a lot of different names for it. But at the end of the day, it's all fun. And really the outcome that you get is really what I call the pudding. That's the proof in the pudding, how you take care of that patient, and how the outcome that they achieve. So we'd be happy to take care of anybody, and anybody that needs us, we're there for them.
Well, we keep coming back, that's for sure. Well, thanks again for showing up.
Yeah,
thanks
for
everyone for
having me,
listening.
guys.
Great having you this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great podcast, everyone. Another great one. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.